They laughed at the old Earth tales, until they found a human soldier with alien women. The station's outer hull screamed under plasma fire. Every tremor echoed through the corridors like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Sergeant Elias Vance crouched by the viewport, helmet cracked, rifle burned down to slag. Beyond the glass, the dark curve of the gas giant rolled slowly beneath, illuminated by the dying light of the battle. Behind him stood 3 women of the Vayari species, tall, pale, and silver-eyed. Their skin shimmered faintly, patterned with geometric light. They moved like living mathematics, each motion precise and graceful. The Vayari were creatures of logic, born from a civilization that had purged emotion centuries ago. Now they fought beside a man who bled for feeling. The siege had lasted 32 hours. Their command had fled after promising reinforcements. None came. Only the silence of betrayal and the steady hum of failing life support. "Elias," said Lyria, the eldest of the Vayari unit, voice modulated and calm even as the ceiling rumbled. "Our reserves are empty. Evacuation is improbable." He gave a short, dry laugh. "That's a fancy way of saying we're screwed." The second, Kalith, tilted her head, her silver pupils narrowing. "You still find humor at termination?" "Yeah," Vance said, slinging his useless rifle and checking a cracked sidearm. "It's an old Earth trick. Laugh before you die. Makes the universe nervous." The Vayari exchanged subtle glances. They didn't understand the joke, but they wanted to. Somewhere over the days of siege, their emotionless rhythm had begun to fracture. Hours passed. They barricaded corridors, rerouted power, and treated wounds with makeshift tools. And Vance told stories. While the walls groaned and lights flickered, his voice filled the cold air. "Back on Earth," he said once, sitting by the emergency beacon, "we used to tell tales. About love. About loyalty. People who'd walk through fire just to keep someone else alive. Primitive coping mechanism," Kalith had said at first. "Maybe," he'd replied, smiling faintly. "But those stories built us. They made sure we didn't forget why we fight." At first, the Vayari merely listened. Then, something changed. When Lyria was wounded defending the reactor chamber, Kalith carried her without hesitation, disobeying every tactical protocol. When a hull breach tore open Deck 7, the youngest, Nira, screamed a name, Elias's name, for the first time in her species' history. They didn't see it then, but the humans' primitive tales had become real inside them. By the 3rd day, the Kareth boarding parties breached the outer ring. The station's artificial gravity faltered. Shards of glass and debris floated like slow snow. Elias stood with the 3 Vayari at the last corridor leading to the core. Beyond that door were thousands of civilians, refugees the fleet had abandoned. The only thing keeping them alive was the failing shield array the team had jury-rigged. 3 mags left, Vance muttered. "Anyone got more?" "Negative," Lyria said. Her voice trembled for the first time. "But our shields remain stable for 12 more minutes." Vance nodded, shoulders squaring. 12 minutes. That's enough. Kalith frowned. For what? He turned, eyes meeting each of theirs. For a story. They fought like legends. The Kareth poured through the breach, metal beasts with limbs like blades, eyes burning blue. The humans and aliens had faced them before, but never like this. Vance's pistol roared until it was dry, then he used his fists, then a fallen rifle, then the fire axe from the corridor wall. He moved like every hero he'd ever read about, every soldier who refused to fall. The Vayari moved beside him, glowing patterns flashing across their bodies as they burned through logic to fight on instinct. Kalith covered his flank, Lyria shielded him with her own body, and Nira used her fading energy to overload the deck plating. When the last wave came, the 4 of them stood in the doorway, surrounded, blood and light and silence. And for the first time, the Vayari leader spoke not in calculation, but in faith. Elias, she said softly. You told us that stories keep humanity alive. Tell us one now. He looked at her, smiling despite the smoke and pain. You already know how this one ends. Then the reactor ignited. The explosion was seen from orbit. The Kareth fleet withdrew, assuming the station was destroyed. But inside the shielded core, hundreds of civilians survived. Weeks later, when Concordium ships returned, they found the corridor sealed by molten metal. At its center were 4 shapes, 1 human, 3 Vayari, locked together in eternal stillness, protecting the control console that kept the civilians alive. The data logs recovered from Vance's armor contained a final voice entry. If anyone finds this, don't cry for us. Just remember that the old stories were right. Love, loyalty, sacrifice, they're not illusions. They're equations the heart solves when logic fails. And sometimes, that's enough to hold the universe together. Centuries later, the Vayari collective changed. They reinstated emotional studies. Their philosophers rewrote their codes. In their great hall, 3 crystalline figures stood beside the statue of one human soldier, his face weathered but calm, gaze turned toward a distant star. Every year, they recited a single Terran phrase that had survived the data banks. We fight not because we will win, but because someone has to try. They no longer laughed at old Earth tales. They taught their children. And in the silver skies above Vayer Prime, a constellation bore a new name. The Soldier and the 3 Lights.